Welcome into the roundtable. I am Brad Wakai. That is Tyson Gentry. We have a big show today. Bears just absolutely dominate Monday Night Football as open 7.5-point dogs, went up to 8.5. I think you even got to 9 at some shops, Tyson, and they completely smashed the Patriots 33-14. So we're going to talk about that and what we just saw, Bears angle, Patriots angle, then get into our key takeaways from week 7. I think there's the main dominating factor that we both agree is kind of the theme with what's going on in the NFL right now. But Tyson, an interesting game here, actually. Something that I don't think a lot of people expected.
I feel like this was the first primetime game to hit the over in a long time, and it hit quick, right? I guess where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the Bears kind of dominating this thing, or you want to start with Mac Jones maybe losing his job?
Well, let's go with the Bears because I think that's the bigger story here. Because, yeah, the Patriots are the better name or bigger name or like what went wrong with the Patriots, but I thought the Bears just handled business.
Yeah, I think that we severely underestimated them because we were underestimating Matt Eberflus. Like, he's done an incredible job with this team. He minimizes, and the whole staff is really, they minimize the mistakes that are there to be made. Not that they haven't found a way to make them. We're still talking. What are they now? They're 3-4 now.
Three
That's
and
the
four,
record.
yep.
So they're not like lighting the world on fire, but they're on pace to hit the over at the beginning of the season. I think it was 5.5 games. We were kind of campaigning for them to have the worst roster in the NFL, and they're just winning games. And tonight they did it just by dominating the New England Patriots on the ground after the Patriots stuffed Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt a week ago.
Yeah, I was super impressed by the Bears' game plan. I mean, they came out, they weren't tentative at all. And Matt Eberflus, he's done a great job. And if they won more games, like, honestly, he might be the coach of the year, just in terms of, like, kind of our expectations for a team in this league. Maybe them and the Falcons and Arthur Smith down there, kind of two things we thought were just going to be horrible teams, and they've had better seasons by a long shot than we expected. And I thought this was the best game I've seen Justin Fields play since he's been in the NFL. Stats, sure, you can kind of look in there. I'm sure there's some others that are different, but in the rain, yes, he still had the 4 fumbles, but none of them were lost. But I thought he made good decisions when he wanted to tuck and run, and they also made good throws down the field too. So I was super impressed by the Bears all the way around, and I thought that defense did an excellent job as well. 0 second half points.
Yeah, Roquan Smith's a monster. Like, we said it a long time ago, but they fucked up when they decided not to give him whatever he wanted because the price is going up, right? That's Omar in the Wire, I think. Price is going up. I'm really impressed with the Bears, man. I'm impressed. First of all, people are making plays for Justin Fields, which we've been, it's always Justin Fields' fault when you talk about what goes wrong with the Bears, but the playmakers haven't necessarily been in position to make plays, but when they have been, they've left something to be desired. And tonight, I felt like there was the Mooney catch on the sideline on 3rd and 16 in the first half to put them all the way into field goal range and get extra points. There was Cole Kmet making a play in the second half that ended up getting them a first down. Again, a field goal. And those were things that just kind of slowly inched them ahead while the defense took care of business. And you don't have to score 33 the conventional way. You can do it by dominating on defense, taking short fields, kicking field goals, and scoring touchdowns when you can.
Yeah, and the running game continues to be dominant for the Chicago Bears too. And people kind of make fun of them, right? Like, oh, Fields only throws the ball like 20 times. Look at where his number's set. And I always kind of push back on that when it comes to teams or philosophies. Like, do you want every team to look the same across the league? Like, you want every team to be ballsy like the Chargers, or you want every team to be so pass heavy like the Bills? Like, the Bears ran the ball 45 times tonight for 243 yards. Like, they physically pushed around the New England Patriots, who knew going in that the Bears were going to run the ball, and they couldn't stop it. We're talking about a Bill Belichick-led team. Like, that's impressive to me. And I hate when people are like, yeah, but they only threw the ball 21 times, and it was just like, oh, it's like, do what you do well, and until somebody stops that, that's how you should game plan, and that's how you should execute your offense.
And we said it before, they can't pass block, but get the fuck out of the way. When they're running the football, it's a bunch of big, angry guys moving piles, road grading for those guys. I thought Khalil Herbert was, again, maybe the more impressive running back tonight. I thought Montgomery had really good moments, but it's going to be interesting to see how that contract situation plays out at the end of this year. Obviously, Montgomery will be a free agent. We'll see if he comes back, but it's a three-headed monster. Really, Fields made a lot of right decisions tonight, which is maybe the first time in his NFL career that he strung together so many in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess shifting to the Patriots, we touched on it a bit, and you mentioned it a bit just regarding the quarterback situation there. And I'll let you kind of take that. My thoughts are just, I was just super disappointed with how disinterested that team looked. Like they got kicked in the mouth early, often, and there was no response except for the one couple drives when they put in Bailey Zappi. And then
Yeah,
after
when
they got to halftime, well, let's pack it up,
nothing,
boys.
nothing, and it's boring. It's vanilla. It's 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, and just hopefully somebody can make a play or throwing the ball to the sticks. And that's the offense with Mac Jones too. So it's not necessarily a Bailey Zappi limitation. It's just more of a Joe Judge, Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator limitation. They got to open that thing up. The other part is their best players are Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's pretty clear. And then after that, it's like we've been waiting on Jacoby Myers to be a thing. Like he's a good NFL receiver, but he's the Patriots' number one, right? Hunter Henry is again really good inside the 20s, and outside for the other 60 yards of the field or 80 yards, he's not exactly field stretching tight end. We thought they signed Jonas Smith to do that thing. He blocks. It's barren in New England, and the defense I thought missed a lot of tackles today. I thought Justin Fields did a really good job evading guys like Judon, but there was a lot of times where if the first guy there makes the play, it's a completely different game.
Yeah. And just kind of running through to add your points here, Rajay Stevenson, 11 carries, 39 yards, 3.5 on the ground average. They only ran the ball 19 times for 70 yards. That's not a New England Patriots recipe for success here. And then you have your running back at 8 targets, Stevenson for 59 yards. You mentioned Hunter Henry, 1 catch for 12 yards, 2 targets. Johnny Smith, 1 catch for 4 yards, 3 targets. Jacoby Myers, 2 catches for 34 yards. He had that one big play that went for 30. So when we talk about this, and we talk about these, they're not doing a good job of getting their guys in space or getting them in opportunities, right? And that's kind of goes back to the Judge, the Patricia as offensive coordinator. And we just had our doubts about it before when the Patriots were bad. Then they started playing well. And we're like, ooh, the Patriots, they're starting to make their little run. They're coming together. And then they put up this performance. And so, like, that's why we have this question here, kind of our prompt, like, who are the Patriots? Because coming into the season, both you and I are like, this team's going to be worse than people think. Like, we get it. Belichick's a genius and this and that. But this roster is not very good. And when you have 2 failed coaches in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running your offense after you had one of the most successful offensive coordinators of all time leave, I think we're starting to see the shine kind of come off everything here. And Zappi's limited, and Mac Jones is limited. And when you don't have a good play caller to kind of help out those guys, I think this is what we see.
And the others suck. Like the skill position players there stink. I mean, Damian Harris is coming off an injury, a little bit of a let that slide kind of deal for this game. I mean, he's been good. The first 3 weeks before he got hurt, he barely played in week 4 or week 5 or whenever he got hurt. And then he's kind of knocking the rust off today. But that's all they have is they have to be able to impose their will and run the ball, and they cannot fall behind. And tonight it was 10-0 in a blink of an eye, and all of a sudden they couldn't catch up. Bailey Zappi comes in, 2 quick touchdowns, looked like somebody flipped a switch on the offense, and then it was just right back to the same thing. Where if they get behind the sticks, they're screwed. There's nothing they can do. So they have to be at least on schedule, if not ahead of schedule, as far as the downs go. They have to be in 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, in order to even have a shot. Because how many times tonight was it 1st and 20 after a holding penalty, and it was like, well, I guess they're punting. They can't get 20 yards in 4 plays. They just can't do it.
No, and that's the thing. And you're kind of waiting for it. When's this kind of Patriots offense going to figure it out? And it's normally been carried by the defense or the ground game. None of those things are working today. And we just saw them get absolutely dominated. Again, Bears win on Monday Night Football 33-14 as about 8.5-point dogs on the road. One of the more improbable victories, I think, in terms of kind of how we were framing this game. All right, rest of week 7, Tyson. Key takeaways from here, and I think maybe we want to start with the main one here, and we kind of discussed this before. So, the first kind of key takeaways we get into this is, I kind of think Brady and Rodgers are kind of done here, and I want to be careful when I say that, or I want to be careful how I frame that.
Just looking for a fork.
If you want to put a fork in it, yeah, you think they're cooked all the way. I mean, listen, it's hard to just be like, the Packers it's over for the Packers. It's over for the Bucks. But let's be honest here, man. I mean, the Packers have been horrible on offense. The Bucks have been horrible on offense as well. They both sit at 3-4, disappointing seasons, and it looks like it's all on the QB position here for both sides. Now, the Rodgers, I think, has been better than Brady this year, and Brady's putting up great numbers, but it doesn't feel the same as it has in the past in Rodgers' teams and Brady's teams and how these offenses look. Something's going on there for both sides. I can't quite put my finger on it yet, but it just feels like it's at that point where we're ready to turn the page on the Brady's Rodgers era, and it's like time for the new guys in Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert.
It is so difficult for both of these offenses to move the ball. Like everything looks so hard. Green Bay, for instance, we thought preseason it was going to be okay. Let's rely on the running backs, get that going, and then Aaron Rodgers will move the chains when he has to. He'll find somebody. He hasn't been able to find that person. Alan Lazard was good this weekend, and he's obviously going to settle back into that number one role. But Romeo Dobbs was looking more and more like maybe he was a flash in the pan early when nobody else was there. Uh, if Aaron Jones doesn't make something happen, nothing happens. That's the extent of the offense. AJ Dillon, 4 carries for 15 yards. I think he had 3 for 15 at the end of the first quarter, and then he just gets frozen out of the game. Very, very interesting. I thought in a close game, you figure you'd want to kind of road grade a disappointing Washington Commanders defense, but that wasn't what LaFleur and all of his genius wanted to do. And then on the other side, it's like Tampa Bay's just not having fun, dude. And I said it in week one, and it's becoming more and more apparent. Like they don't give a shit about like playing for Tom Brady. When he got there, it was like, we got to win a ring. That's Tom Brady. And then now it's like, okay, Mike Evans is the only one that seems to care that that's Tom Brady. And even then, if he catches a 75-yard bomb, it's a different game. But they get embarrassed by a team with an interim head coach who just traded their franchise centerpiece. DJ Moore's had the worst season of his career by a mile to this point, and he goes out there and clowns just about anybody that was on the other side of him for most of the game. You lose by 18 points to PJ Walker, and you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. Those two things don't mix.
They scored 3 points and they came in the fourth quarter, the Bucks. This against the Panthers team who's just on the West Coast, who just got completely shut out of the game in the second half against the Rams. They got to fly back across country. Like you said, trade McCaffrey. Nobody knows what's going on there. You just traded a player because he got kicked off the sideline. Like it's a mess. Bucks come in, they need the answer after a loss to the Steelers that seemed improbable at the time, and they put up this performance. Like there is real issues there under the surface. I think it's kind of coming out now. I don't know if it's a Brady-led problem. Off the center, backing up Jensen said, we liked it when he came over and yelled at us. This is football.
What's he supposed to say?
I mean, don't answer it. I don't know who. I don't even know the name of the center. And then all of a sudden, this is a cut everywhere. I mean, it's just like, it's just something's weird over there in Tampa. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a lot of players who like Bruce Arians, and they like playing for him. And if like Tom kicked him out or Tom, whatever it is, and they're like, "Fuck this guy," I don't know.
Or
like,
it just feels like the fact that Tom missed a month of training camp and then took off for a week or a few days to go to Robert Kraft's wedding. And he's not getting the time in with these guys. And he's kind of everything right now is about Tom Brady, and that's how it always is. But in a team that can't score the ball, like they can't score the ball. Tom Brady can throw for 300 yards. He threw for 289, I think. But he threw it 60 times. And it's really, really hard for them right now. They're playing the long game with Julio, but they need a shot in the arm on this offense. Julio Jones isn't going to give it to him. It's got to be somebody from internal. Maybe Rachaad White gets more and more burned as time goes because Leonard Fournette, outside of catching the ball when Tom's dumping it down to him, I've been pretty disappointed with him between the tackles to this point in the season. The Buccaneers need something. And on the Bruce Arians thing, maybe Todd Bowles is just the guy from the Jets, huh? Maybe he's a really good coordinator, and he shouldn't be in charge of 53 guys going into battle. Well, war, as Tom Brady would say, right?
Well, I think the idea going in was he's still going to just coach the defense, and it's going to be Brady and Leftwich on the offense. And maybe Bruce Arians is more important than we thought. And I always thought that he was a great offensive mind.
Byron Leftwich lost himself a job this season based on where he was a year ago to now. It's been really bad. But you want to talk about somebody that's actually cooked and actually done? Matt Ryan got benched for the remainder of the season today, Brad.
Yep.
And Sam Ehlinger, Texas legend, we're back. That guy, he will now be quarterbacking the Indianapolis Colts. And Matt Ryan 2 weeks ago threw for like 400 yards, and people were going nuts, but nobody paid attention to the fact that he threw it 142 times in the game, or whatever it was. They just let him do whatever he wanted. He was really bad against Tennessee, and he's been really bad for most of the year. It looks an awful lot to me like the end of the Eli Manning career, the end of the Ben Roethlisberger career, where it's like, oh, he just can't actually get it there. Like he's making the right reads, he just can't throw the ball. I think this is sad, but I think this was about the most predictable thing you could imagine when the Colts went out and acquired Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and I thought this was going to go much better with Matt Ryan as QB. Sam Ehlinger's been really good in the preseason. I think, honestly, this is a good time for the Colts to take a look at it. Now, it does smell desperate, right? Like, holy shit.
Everything they've done for 2 years has smelled desperate.
And when you're desperate, you're going to continue to be desperate. And this is a general manager who I think knows if they don't win the division, is fired. This is a head coach who believes the same thing, because what do we know about Jim Irsay? He's irrational, and he's going to do irrational things. Now, at this point in time, I think if they miss the playoffs, I don't even know if it's irrational to kind of clean house a bit, because that's ridiculous if this Titans team wins the division again, because that's just because they have a great coach in Vrabel. There's no reason the roster of the Tennessee Titans should be beating the Colts twice this year. That's just unacceptable in Indianapolis. So it's a coach who's desperate. It's a GM who's desperate, and they want to make this move. But it just looks bad, right? I mean, you got an owner who fucking blasts Carson Wentz out of the organization. And I have a softer spot for Carson Wentz than a lot of people, but you can't tell me that Matt Ryan's been better this year than Carson Wentz. And so now you have an owner who is so sure that, hey, all of our problems are fixed because we got rid of Carson Wentz, demands to bring in a different quarterback. It's been worse, and they're going to underperform more than they did last year. And so it feels like there's just a writing on the wall for this regime. It's going to be an owner who's going to make another rash decision like he always does. And that's what he does. That's Jim Irsay.
2 things on the Colts that I kind of want to throw out there. One, the surefire Hall of Famer, best offensive guard prospect of all time, Quentin Nelson, is putting back-to-back really iffy seasons together. Like last year, he wasn't great, and this year so far he hasn't been great, but it's been under the radar because the teams are bad. That's something to watch. I think that's actually really important because he's either going to get paid like his name, and they're going to pay for Quentin Nelson, or they're going to pay for the guy on the field, and those 2 things aren't matching up. The other thing is Mac Jones old enough to play quarterback for the Colts?
No, probably not.
He might in 9 years he'll look really good there, but they're struggling, man. And I know that Frank Reich is going to do everything he can to try to keep his job. And maybe we're at the point now where we can criticize Chris Ballard a bit.
Oh, I think that's beyond fair.
We weren't supposed to. Fair. It wasn't allowed for the first 2 years of his tenure. Everything he did was right.
Best GM in football, best GM in sports. Like, why? Crazy to me. But
he got eliminated in the wild card round twice. Nobody thought that was, that was blowing expectations out of the water, I guess.
I guess so. Then you get pounded by 2 teams. Oh, it's okay. All right. Another takeaway from me. Now, I got really frustrated this week. I can't tell if it's more on analytics or more on coaches. I think it's a blend of both here. And there were 2 instances that fucking just drove me up a wall this week, and it's just been compounding. I started losing it. The one that mainly sticks out to me is the Jags. Like, they're up 4 points. They're in field goal range. You have an opportunity to kick the ball to go up 7 points against a Giants offense that hasn't done jack to that point. They go for it, get stopped. Giants go down, of course, because it's a spark. Go down and score a touchdown, and now you're trailing by 3. Yep, and you didn't see the lead for the rest of the game. That's inexcusable, moronic to do that. That's just one instance that drove me nuts. I'm trying to think of the other one when they had an opportunity to go up 9.
I'm sure it was they're up.
It might have been, but I don't even think they were in the game long enough to be even up fucking 6. They got pounded by the Seahawks.
Yeah, they did.
Sheesh. But whoever's up 6, they can kick a field to go up 9, which is a 2-score game. Even analytics should say kick it because it's 2 scores.
Was it Harbaugh?
I don't know what it was. It was something ridiculous, and they went for it, didn't get it, of course, and now you got your back against the wall, or at least you're in a trouble. Like, there are so many decisions that I've seen, and so many stupid ideas that contradict even what analytics are. And if they kind of blame analytics now and be like, well, we're falling back on analytics, like analytics wouldn't say go for it there, Jacksonville. Analytics says kick the field goal. Like, why are you even going for it in that situation? And it's just so frustrating to continually watch each and every week mismanaged short yardage situations, mismanaged time, and mismanaged decisions every single week. It is blowing my mind. And we're only 7 weeks into this season.
Well, analytics is code for I hate points. That seems to be
Yes.
kind of mostly what it is, and it's different, right? When somebody jumps off sides on an extra point attempt, and now you get a 2 point conversion from the one. I think that's smart to take it like every time, pretty much, unless it's going to put you up by one and you're going to win the game. The NFL offenses convert from the 1 yard line way over 50%. So I like that one, but it's like 4th and 3 with 37 seconds left on your own 40, and guys are running draws from shotgun. It's like, what the hell are you doing? That part sucks. One other week 7 takeaway I have, Brad. Is it too early to victory lap on Ken Walker?
Oh no,
Am I allowed
you can
to do
start
that yet?
dancing.
I mean, this dude is special. He's quick. He still can't pass block, and he's not exactly great catching the ball, but running the football, he looked like if you injected Nick Chubb with like speed juice. He's the fastest ball carrier in the NFL to this point. Granted, they were playing probably the worst rush defense in the NFL, so that helped. But he had like 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, put the game out of reach. It wasn't Geno's best day. DK goes out. We're still kind of trying to figure out who the Chargers are. And Ken Walker let us know that they're not somebody that's going to win playoff football. That was what that was. The Seahawks are now sitting at number 1 in the NFC West, going into a game with the 6-1 New York Giants, dude. How insane is that?
It feels like we're in the upside down. It's crazy. Like I'm looking at this, dude. Like, here you go. Jets 5-2, Niners 3-4, Jags 2-5. But after they started, I guess. Cowboys 5-2, Cardinals 3-4, Saints 2-5, Patriots 3-4, Bears 3-4. Like, you just go through all that, and you're like, what the hell is happening here? Like, Bucks 3-4, Packers 3-4.
The NFC East
You
is
know,
16-3 outside of division this year. 16-3 for what everyone thought was the worst conference in football. It was the worst conference in football, probably the last 3 years. And now they're just, if you can't play the NFC East is the SEC, is the old SEC West. That's what's going on.
absolutely. Those are kind of all the takeaways I have. Unless you have one more, Tyson, maybe we can do some updates on transactions and things.
Well, I think James Robinson going to the Jets is huge. Obviously, Brees Hall tears the ACL, has a meniscus injury too. I think if it was just the plain in quotes ACL tear, it might be different because James Robinson is a restricted free agent after this year, so he's probably going to be back in New York if he, looks like James Robinson. I think they're looking around the league at J.K. Dobbins and guys like that are taking a year and a half, 2 years to get back into this thing. Even look at Saquon. It took him quite a while to get right. I think it's an insurance policy. I think that was a really good move, and it was for a fifth. So for Jacksonville, they get 3 years out of an undrafted free agent. They're able to flip him for a profit. For New York, it's good insurance. Obviously, the Christian McCaffrey trade we touched on our live show the other day, but that was huge. But we're a week away officially now from the NFL trade deadline. And the NFL trade deadline is awesome because there's going to be so many big names rumored, and not a single one of them will get moved. Never
Yeah,
does.
that's how it feels, right? And just because the way the contracts go. Also, J.C. Jackson torn patella tendon, that's huge. Although he got benched last week, but still, that's a big name signing. Another injury for the Chargers. The Jets, Elijah Vera Tucker is out. Their offensive lineman, he's done for the year, so they are getting banged up there in New York, even though they won the battle in Denver. So a lot of injuries. People out for the year. We'll kind of keep you updated as we go along there, and obviously, as we get to the trade deadline, we'll have a lot to talk about on that front as well. But yeah, I mean that'll pretty much do it for our show today. We appreciate you guys listening as always. Like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Twitter at TRT_pod, Instagram at _ the roundtable pod _ and TikTok is the same. Unfortunately, Tyson, our chalkboard has cooled off a little bit. 0-5 in our last 5 primetime slots. But we had a feeling this would happen a bit. Kind of early to middle part of the year, after we went on a run, we kind of had this feeling.
Still 12-6, which is good when you look back at it, but it doesn't feel like it. Over
No.
the last 5 weeks, it's been brutal. We're gonna have to fade ourselves one time just to get back on track. Is what it's starting to look like.
Yeah, we'll tweak what we got going on, but in the meantime, we got our other plays going on with NBA heating up, MLB playoffs come to a close here. Phillies in the World Series had to dust off this hat because I was telling Tyson I had it somewhere in the closet. I knew it was there somewhere. So MLB plays, obviously NHL is back, NBA, NCAA basketball right around the corner too, and of course college football, NFL, and Tyson's UFC picks as we get this thing rolling and we get it absolutely kicking off in this fall here. So again, we appreciate you guys listening. As always, college football episode being recorded Tuesday, coming out Wednesday. So until then, peace.